On a bustling city sidewalk, where horns blared and footsteps echoed off concrete, a starving German shepherd huddled against a weathered brick wall. His skeletal frame was starkly visible, ribs protruding beneath patchy, matted fur that had long lost its shine. One ear flicked at the clamor of passing strangers, but his amber eyes remained fixed on the ground, dulled by hunger and abandonment. He was a ghost among the living, unnoticed by the stream of people. Businessmen in press suits, teenagers snapping selfies, and parents tugging strollers, who flowed around him like water around a stone. To them, he was just another piece of urban debris, as insignificant as the crumpled coffee cups littering the gutter. The day wore on, the sun climbing high, casting harsh shadows that deepened the hollows of the dog's gaunt face. A group of teens sauntered by, their laughter cutting through the air. One paused, smirking, and aimed her phone at the dog. "Gross," she muttered, snapping a photo before rejoining her friends, their voices fading into the city's din. A man in a hurry sidestepped the dog, his face twisting in disgust. Others didn't even glance his way. The German shepherd's head sank lower, his body curling tighter against the wall as if trying to disappear. Hours passed, and the weight of being invisible seemed to crush him further, his shallow breaths barely stirring the dust at his paws. Then, amidst the endless rush of legs and chatter, a tiny pair of sneakers stopped abruptly. A baby, no older than 18 months, stood frozen, his wide blue eyes locked on the broken creature before him. In his chubby hand, he clutched a plastic sippy cup, its bright red lid speckled with cartoon stars. His mother, a few steps ahead, was engrossed in her phone, navigating the crowded sidewalk without noticing her son had stopped. The baby tilted his head, his gaze softening as he studied the dog. The German shepherd didn't move, too weary to acknowledge the small figure staring at him. The baby shifted the sippy cup to his other hand and took a wobbly step forward. His mother's voice cut through the noise. "Come on, sweetie," she called, glancing back and tugging the stroller's leash. But the boy didn't budge. Instead, he let the sippy cup slip from his fingers. It hit the pavement with a soft clatter and rolled to a stop near the dog's cracked, dusty paw. The German shepherd flinched, his ears flattening, but his head remained bowed, as if expecting nothing but cruelty from the world. The baby took another step, his tiny sneakers scuffing the concrete. His mother's voice sharpened with worry. "Sweetheart, come here." But something in her son's quiet determination made her hesitate. The sidewalk's rhythm faltered. A woman with a shopping cart paused, her eyes narrowing with curiosity. A delivery driver, balancing a stack of packages, set them down on the curb, his gaze shifting to the scene unfolding. For the first time that day, the dog was no longer invisible. The baby crouched clumsily, his small hand reaching out toward the dog's matted fur. The German shepherd let out a low, rumbling growl, his body tensing as if bracing for a blow. A bystander called out, "Careful, that dog might bite." Another voice urged, "Ma'am, grab your kid." But the mother stood rooted, her breath catching as she watched her son. His hand didn't waver. His eyes held no fear, only a pure, unshakable wonder. Then, as if the world had slowed just for them, the baby smiled, his tiny face lighting up with a warmth that seemed to cut through the city's indifference. The dog's growl softened into a faint, trembling whimper. His nose twitched, and slowly, he lifted his head, meeting the baby's gaze. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the dog's tired eyes searching the child's face as if trying to understand this unfamiliar kindness. The baby leaned closer, his small hand trembling not with fear, but with gentle curiosity. He pressed his palm against the dog's sun-warmed fur, barely covering the space between the shepherd's bony shoulders. The dog froze, every muscle rigid, as if waiting for the gentleness to turn cruel. But it didn't. A gasp rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. "Oh my God," a woman whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The baby's mother sank to her knees beside her son, her hand hovering near his shoulder, torn between pulling him back and letting this fragile moment unfold. The German shepherd's eyes flicked to her, then back to the baby, who let out a soft giggle and patted the dog's head again. A single tear rolled down the child's cheek, perhaps stirred by the sorrow in the dog's gaze or some deeper, wordless connection. The dog let out a shuddering sigh, his head dipping to rest against the baby's knee, a gesture of trust that seemed to break something open in the air. The crowd fell silent. No phones lifted, no voices interrupted. The baby sat down on the grimy sidewalk, his tiny legs splayed out, and picked up the sippy cup. He held it out to the dog, as if offering a gift. The German shepherd sniffed it cautiously, his nose brushing the baby's fingers, and a soft whimper escaped him, raw and unguarded. Then, with a trust that seemed to defy his brokenness, he laid his head in the baby's lap that a woman in the crowd pressed a hand to her mouth, stifling a sob. The baby's mother reached out, her fingers brushing the dog's back, feeling the sharp ridges of his spine beneath the filthy fur. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You're okay now." The baby continued his gentle pats, each touch seeming to ease the dog's tension, his breathing growing steadier. "I've never seen anything like this," the delivery driver murmured, his voice hushed with awe. The city's noise, its horns, its chatter, its relentless pace, faded into the background. For one fleeting moment, there was only the baby's kindness and the dog's quiet surrender, a lesson in compassion that no one watching could ignore as a woman stepped forward from the crowd, her blue jacket bearing a faded paw print logo. "I work with a rescue," she said softly, her eyes glistening. "I can help him if that's okay." The baby's mother looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she said, her voice breaking. "He needs someone." The rescue worker knelt, moving slowly to avoid startling the dog. She extended her hand, letting him sniff her fingers. This time, he didn't pull away. His eyes met hers, weary but hopeful, as if he sensed salvation. With the baby's mother's help, they coaxed the dog to his feet. His legs wobbled, but when the baby clapped his hands, a spark of life flickered in the shepherd's eyes. He took a shaky step forward, then another. The rescue worker slipped a soft leash over his neck. "We'll get him to a vet, clean him up," she promised, glancing at the baby with a warm smile. "You're a brave little one." The mother lifted her son into her arms, kissing his forehead as he watched the dog being led to a rescue van parked nearby. As the German shepherd was gently lifted inside, he turned back, his gaze finding the baby's one last time. His tail gave a faint, hopeful wag, a small gesture that carried the weight of a new beginning. The mother held her son close, knowing he had reminded everyone on that busy sidewalk of a truth too often forgotten, that even the smallest act of compassion can change the world.